Why did Homelander turn Blind Spot into a deaf man? In the brutal world of The Boys, Homelander's act of turning Blind Spot deaf wasn't just a random outburst. It was a masterclass in power tripping and psychological destruction. First, this was a protest against corporate overreach. Ashley forced Blind Spot into the Seven as a diversity hire without his consent. To Homelander, the kid's confidence and reliance on hearing weren't just weaknesses, they were a direct insult to his authority as a leader. Second, Blind Spot's timing was terrible. Homelander was on the verge of a mental breakdown, clinging to a bottle of his dead lover's breast milk just to feel sane. Ashley's intrusion shattered that sick moment of peace, leaving him fuming and looking for a way to lash out. Blind Spot just happened to be the perfect punching bag at the worst possible time. Finally, this act stems from his toxic mix of ego and insecurity. He dreams of massacring protesters but flees the scene when Vought executives challenge him. He stripped Blind Spot of his hearing because he craves being worshipped like a god, yet he lacks the stomach to face any reality that isn't his own.
Why doesn't Homelander dare to rule the world? Remember Flight 37? Homelander and Mi Fu went to save the hostages, but in a moment of panic, Homelander accidentally cut the plane's control panel with his heat vision. If it were Superman, he would have lifted the plane instantly, but Homelander couldn't. He worried that if he didn't save everyone perfectly, the media would blame him. When he realized he couldn't complete the mission flawlessly, he simply gave up. What does this show? Homelander doesn't truly care about human life. He only cares about his fan base and approval ratings. Ruling the world means dealing with countless messy situations like this. For a narcissist obsessed with image and perfection, it would be hell. Look at his disturbing mommy issues. Even as the strongest man alive in front of Madeline, he acts like a guilty child, desperate for a hug, craving warped maternal affection. Later, he killed Madeline with his own eyes. Yet he needed the shapeshifter to mimic her, just to soothe himself. Homelander's inner child never matured. A giant baby who can't manage his emotions or trauma can't really have the ambition to rule the world.
Change back! Change back! I'm sorry! I can only hold a shape for so long before it really hurts!
Why does enriched uranium weaken Homelander's powers? In the latest episode of The Boys, Soldier Boy traps Homelander in an enriched uranium containment chamber. This is where Vought tests if Supes can withstand a nuclear blast. However, Homelander, who underwent radiation testing as a child, can barely use his powers. Why? First, the radiation tests Homelander did might have been with depleted uranium, but Soldier Boy mentions enriched uranium. Compared to depleted uranium, it has a high concentration of U-235, which can directly damage the body just like kryptonite to Superman. Second, Compound 5 cannot block the physical damage caused by enriched uranium. In the episode, it is mentioned that inside the chamber, the enriched uranium caused Homelander's skin to rot and his anus to bleed. This proves that enriched uranium bypasses Compound 5 to act directly on his body, and even his self-healing cannot help him recover. As a material for nuclear weapons, while not as extreme as Soldier Boy's blast at clearing powers, it can continuously suppress Homelander's abilities. Finally, this might give Butcher an idea. Even without a virus, Homelander could be sealed forever in a sealed chamber full of enriched uranium, just like Soldier Boy. If Homelander suspects you are a traitor, how can you save yourself? When he suspects you, he doesn't want the truth. He wants submission. Look at Firecracker. When questioned, she didn't argue about the details of letting Starlight go. Instead, she immediately shifted to her own origin. She emphasized that she was a nobody until Homelander's support gave her millions of fans. By devaluing yourself, you amplify his sense of greatness. If his mood improves, your chance of survival skyrockets. No matter how powerful he is, Homelander cannot escape human weakness. He slaughtered lab staff to cut off his past, but that only sent his emotional void to a peak. Firecracker's masterstroke was using medication to trigger a bodily reaction, manipulating him through breast milk. When Homelander turns to you for emotional fulfillment, you become the safest person at Vought. If you are just an ordinary person and those laser eyes start to glow, immediately offer up a real traitor who is a bigger threat than you. Even if you have to make it up, as long as the logic holds together, his paranoia will pull him into the new conspiracy. In an environment where everyone is at risk, diverting the fire is the most effective way to survive. Why did Homelander ignore the zinc box? Homelander didn't miss the zinc box. He just didn't dare to gamble. In episode 7, Kimiko and Sister Sage hid inside a zinc ventilation box. Zinc is the one material that blocks Homelander's X-ray vision, so while he noticed the box, he couldn't confirm what was inside. Crucially, Frenchie lured Homelander into the radiation lab, hinting that Kimiko had gained Soldier Boy's chest blast capability. This isn't just a physical attack, it is a radioactive blast that strips away superpowers. This hits Homelander's deepest fear. To him, death is not the worst fate, losing his status as a god is. Homelander was no longer as confident as when he first arrived. The zinc box was no longer just a suspicious container. It was a potential trap designed specifically for him. He couldn't see through it and couldn't be sure if a powered-up Kimiko was waiting inside. He chose to leave in a panic, not because he forgot the box, but because he wouldn't risk his powers on a guess. Frenchie used the lab, the zinc box, and psychological manipulation to create a perfect illusion. At the cost of his life, he protected